Mira Business FM.
It's the morning drive with me, Tim Elliott, here at Mira Business FM. Hello, we are on the website, which is mirabusiness.fm. You can also find us on YouTube. That's where we stream. That's where the interviews live, and the podcasts are there. Let us know what you think. Download the podcast wherever you get them. There's that whole kind of long list that people do whenever there's social media to be spoken about, and everybody lists everything. It's just everywhere. So that's how you find us. It's pretty simple. David McKenzie is here now. We're going to talk HR. I had a big long list, but I did it last week. So all you get now is Group Managing Director of Mackenzie Jones.
You've forgotten the rest, haven't you?
The thing is, I have. Do you know what I was going to say? Look, I'm going to do the whole lot just to spite you.
Yep.
He's responsible for the Mackenzie Jones Group, namely Mackenzie Jones, Mums at Work, Mina Solutions, Simply Digital, and ThinkTech. As a recruiter, he specialises in HR with a focus on senior appointments across the GCC. He's also a prominent and active member of Dubai's recreational sports community, both as an ASICS frontrunner ambassador and an Ironman.
Some of those are actually wrong now.
Yeah, I was going to say, I found that on a website somewhere.
I'm going to give you the I've actually resigned from ASICS.
Have you really? Why?
Yeah. ASICS, I love the ASICS brand. The shoes are really good. No, I'm not a brand ambassador. I don't need to tell you I can tell you the truth. They're great stuff.
Yeah.
I think there's a point in your life when you cease to be of value to a brand. And I think my time has come. I did 3.5 years there, and I loved it. And I really do believe in the brand, still do.
What did you do? What does a brand ambassador do?
So what my role was just to encourage people to run, but also to encourage people to try out ASICS products, which for me was easy because I still buy ASICS products now and I still like them.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm a proper brand ambassador. I do believe in the brand. I see so many runners flip-flop from one brand to another, whichever pays them more.
Footballers, everybody does it.
Well, even the recreational side, I think when you belong to a brand, you've got to believe in it and you've got to do your utmost to promote that brand. And I did because I genuinely believed in it.
Wow. So how does the brand approach you to say, will you wear our shoes? Will you wear our shorts and run in them?
Look at me. I'm amazing.
Yeah, well, it's the following, isn't it, on Instagram? It's a very particular niche following that you have.
It is. No, I think it's because I'm a let's put it mildly, I'm an older athlete.
Yeah.
And my whole raison d'etre of Generation Try, which is my Instagram, is to encourage people to do sport. And so I would run with 20-year-olds and I'd run with 60-year-olds. And I just like doing activities with all different people. And I don't care whether you're big, fast, slow, fat, different colour. It doesn't matter. As long as you want to do something, I'm happy to help out.
Fair enough. We need more people like you, I think.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some HR stuff. There's a number of topics today. I sent a couple to you. I know you've sent a couple to me. So few at UAE job seekers get desired salary amid global talent influx. We're seeing that. How Emiratization and AI are shaping the modern UAE workforce. A couple of topics. Then we've got new HR rules. And I was going to ask you for an opinion on this later. Flexible working and family leave in Ajman. Now, this is public sector, but hopefully there's some crossover into the private sector. So we'll talk about that. Let's start with this. No surprise. Few at UAE professionals able to successfully negotiate their salaries over the past 12 months. Lots of international job seekers here in the UAE. Yeah. Clearly, there's a lot of competition in the local market. That's according to a study. Your kind of overall thoughts to start with?
It's been happening for about a year now. There's been a massive influx of predominantly talent from Europe, mainly UK, actually.
Okay.
And what
does that surprise you, or?
No, I'm from the UK originally. I mean, I've lived overseas 30 years.
I was going to say, are you really?
No, not really.
Not anymore.
My kids said, "Where are you from, Dad?" I'm like, "I'm British." They went, "You've never lived there." I'm like, "Very good point."
It's interesting. Well, my kids are in Scotland now, and their mother's from Glasgow, and they're both in Scotland. And I've realised that they're not English; they're Scottish. So I don't know. Maybe I've been edged out of the bargain somehow. But I mean, it happens to the worst of us, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
But I guess anecdotally, and I don't know if this is related in any way, but we've got a budget next week for the UK, and in theory there may be an exit tax introduced. That's the strong rumour.
Yes.
The rumours because of millionaires leaving the United Kingdom, they don't like the way the country's moving or the government's acting, whatever. That's the anecdotal evidence for people at that end of the market. But I suppose there's that kind of drip feeds down.
Well, I think if you look at it, the reason why I've talked to quite a few Brits who are relocating it, and there's three key things. One is taxation.
Right.
You're getting taxed to the hill. Even if you're not a super earner, if you're on the mid bracket, you're still getting taxed only between 35 and 40%.
Right.
Second one is safety. That's a big thing for people who've got young kids now. Let's face it, my kids grew up here in the Middle East. It's the best place in the world to bring kids up. Safe. It's there's good weather. They can do activities outside. The schools are very good. So and the third one is I think people have realised careers in UK are just flat at the moment. There's nothing going on. So they're struggling to, pay for their house, pay for their education if they have kids in education, and generally, things like the roads and some of the systems, and we've got a massive immigration problem in the UK, is all these things that are becoming an issue. I personally think UK is still an amazing place to live. I live here. That probably says it all.
It kind of does. Yeah.
But I've been here 22 years.
Yeah, it's still. My first thought then when you said that was it's kind of enough said. Really, that, I see where you're going. I mean, look, 2025, 49% of employees in the UAE tried to negotiate their pay. 15% were successful. It's a drop from last year. So clearly, what we're seeing with population growth, with the excitement of the UAE, the marketing efforts that are being made, the real estate market, all of this stuff is contributing to a labour market here, which is, it's much harder than it was 5 years ago. It's very competitive.
Even 2 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's, the people are, I always say this to candidates, and people think that my job as a recruiter is to place people in jobs. It's not. My job is to advise you when you come to me whether it's worth you moving or not. And a lot of candidates I say to now, you're paid well, you've got a decent company, your boss is good, don't move. Just hang in there.
But aren't you supposed to, be looking at career growth and take the opportunity? Clearly there's a balance.
You are, but the reality is what you have to do is your career is a long-term thing. It's a 20, 30-year cycle. And the problem with people in the UAE used to be they moved every 2 years. So sometimes they never succeeded now. They just kept moving up the salary scales. I think employers are a lot smarter now. They go, what have you achieved? How have you done it? What have you contributed to the bottom line? So it's none of this just hiring people because they work for a good company. You actually have to prove you're the best employee for the client to hire.
Because it's very much about unique selling points now, isn't it? I successfully implemented this.
Absolutely.
This was my impact on, sales in Q3 or whatever. Rather than, we're of a similar age. We've said that a couple of times, but it used to be, I was 10 years with, X.
Those days are gone.
That's just not the case at all.
No, but I think it's going to come back. And I think what employers have to do, and employers are starting to do this, is they're looking at employer branding. How do they keep their good people? Because the longer you keep somebody, the more productive they are, in theory. I'll give you an example, and I can mention this company name because we work with them, Altair Group. We've worked with them for 15 years. They're a great employer. Look at the average tenure on LinkedIn of how long their people are there. Between 4 and 8 years.
Okay. Which
in the UAE is amazing. This is expats and Emiratis and all different nationalities. So you have to, when you go to a company, when you look to join somebody, there's 3 things you should do. One is look at their LinkedIn profile, and it gives you down the bottom an average tenure of a person in the company, and how many people they've hired and how many people they've lost. Look at their Glassdoor reviews. Gives you a very good indication of what the perception in the company is, and get referrals from people you know, or contact people who work at the company and say, I'm interested in joining.
Okay, so those are the 3 things. I'm interested in the Glassdoor review thing because I buy stuff off Amazon as much as anybody. My wife says that's far too much because it's like, ding dong, there's another package for you. But I use reviews a great deal, and I always question reviews because they can sway you. How Glassdoor pretty reliable? Glassdoor's
an interesting one because I personally don't think it's as don't think it's as good as it used to be. I think what people use it for is a chance to have a go at their employers. And there's a lot of negative feedback on there about, and a lot of it's very personal stuff. And I don't think that's a particularly good reason to look at it. I think if you look at the LinkedIn, that just gives you data. But the best way of doing it is find out somebody who works there. You're bound to have, you've heard of 6 degrees of separation. If you ask 6 of your friends, somebody will know somebody who's worked at that company.
Yeah. Get
Get a personal view. And get it somebody who's worked there or somebody who's left there. Glassdoor, unfortunately, I think has become a bit of a whipping board for anti-employers sometimes.
Well, as a recruiter, what do you think about that? If you're looking, do you ever look at Glassdoor reviews and think, hold on a minute,
We don't look because we could look on there and in reality you get a very mixed view. And the ones I've looked at recently, it's just been negative. And I read the comments and they're not negative about how they were treated. They're negative their perception of what's gone on, and it tends to be people just having
it's keyboard warrior stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a bit.
People having a rant,
and I think it's a bit like that. If you look at Amazon reviews typically are quite good. How many are fake? I don't know.
Well, that's always my question. But generally speaking, I kind of feel like it's moderated because if you submit a review, and I actually do submit reviews now,
Which I think is good. I think you should.
Very often you should, and tell the truth. And I've had a couple that have come back. Maybe I've been more sarcastic than I need to be, but they are moderated. So I feel like there is a level of trust there, and I'd like to see that more often. But they definitely sway people.
But if you think about a company, if I came to an interview with you, I'm interviewing with you, who's going to be my new boss. In many ways, that's why...
In what parallel universe is that happening?
Okay, that's maybe slightly down the other way. But you know what I mean? I think people join a company, but they ultimately join a manager. So the person they work for is the one that day-to-day interaction, and they define what their work experience is going to be like. The reason why people leave companies is not the company; it's the manager.
I've heard that many times, but I just feel like that is 100% accurate.
Yeah, I mean,
it's every story you hear.
You look at any company, people go, "Well, they're a bad company." No, they're just a bad manager. So people have different experience in different companies. But generally, you can get a good impression of a company by asking friends, asking colleagues, asking the marketplace. Just be smart about how you do your job search.
Okay, let's go back to this. This is a national article, by the way. Fewer UE job seekers get desired salary amid global talent influx. No surprise as well, I thought, but it's worth commenting on, and I'm interested in your opinion. Emiratis in demand in private firms, but of course, public sector job security is still a draw. I mean, there's no change, is there?
No, there isn't. But we do. Our RPO business has 6 or 7 government clients, but we have about 5 private sector clients who we're just doing Emiratization for at the moment.
Really?
Yeah, and actually, there's some really good Emiratis out there. I think the days of the biddies, it's not that there used to be a situation where sometimes they weren't as good as the job description. I think now the problem we have is competing against government for private sector. Some of these younger Emiratis now don't want to work for government sector. They want to work for private because they see their future as being in growing private companies. And we're placing a lot at the moment who are going into the private sector. Now, they typically are younger. They're sort of around the 30 mark, and the big proportion are female.
You said that last week, and that's interesting. And that's something that I don't know, I've been here a similar length of time to you, but that's something I've heard not just over the last few years. I've heard that for years.
Yeah, I mean,
to be honest.
And I'm very pro-female in the workforce. I think they are... Obviously, let me give you an example. Mackenzie Jones is a company. We have, 40 odd people in there. New people keep joining. I don't know some of them. Maybe shouldn't admit that on radio. But about 70% of our workforce are female. That's not by design. They are just better recruiters, and the reason is they're more empathetic. They listen more. There's less of an ego, and they are much more diligent about doing the job. And I think when I place females into the workforce, they are very detail driven. they typically, if they're a mum, they're managing family, kids, and doing a job.
Yep.
And I think to have that discipline reflects very well in a company environment.
It's the able to manage multiple tasks thing that
Yeah.
we obviously kind of tar the female sector of the population with. But I think there's certainly truth to that. I can think about one thing and then I have to go on to the next topic. So typically male by most benchmarks. My wife is doing a million things and never seems to be stressed. It really annoys me, to be completely honest with you. But they're very kind of clearly demarcated lines, aren't they? And I don't want to be drawing. I don't really want to use broad strokes, but generally speaking, there's truth in that.
It is. I mean, I've got a very good friend, Cora. She's a mum of two. She's got a very senior job with a defence company here. She's a triathlete, and she's in the theatre. And I see her very occasionally. I'm the last one in that. But you look at that, and everyone says, "Oh, you're on the bandwagon because it's a PR thing." I've been doing this for 20 years, and I still believe that in the workplace where women and men are equal, I don't think either one is better than the other. And I think we need to encourage more women to come out of the looking after kids back into the workplace, because I'm on my soapbox now, aren't I?
No, I'm enjoying your soapbox. You stay up there. No, I think there's a great deal of truth to that. And I think there is still in society an element of, you've been with the kids for a few years, you haven't really done anything. I think motherhood's pretty difficult. So to encourage that, I think is kind of a refreshing thing to hear.
I hope so, yeah.
All right. In this evolving employment landscape, clarity around compensation is more important than ever, is one of the lines in this report, okay? And it stood out to me because prior to that, the main thrust of the paragraph was a growing sense of caution among employees. And I'm wondering if you see it, the world is often described as, when people talk about the situation on this planet, it's, we're in uncertain times. We don't quite know where it's going to go. I think it's always uncertain times, but it seems to be particularly that way at the moment. Is that a reasonable parallel to draw? Do you feel that talking to people?
It's always an uncertain time, and I think unfortunately we've got a batch of leaders at the moment that are sort of outside the UA, obviously, who are slightly more draconian, a bit more thuggish.
Okay.
If that's
you're allowed to say whatever you can.
Yeah.
The
reason I like living here, I know exactly where I stand. We've got a very disciplined way of living. We have a very good ruler who just lets us get on with stuff if we work within the rules. Where if you're in somewhere like the States, you haven't got a clue what's going on.
It does tend to chop and change at the moment.
I just think it's chaos. I think I'm not going to give you my personal view on this because this is a radio show, but I like living here because I like the culture. I like the normality, the rules, everything. It suits me. Okay.
I'm with you. So we're not in uncertain times. The thing is this, right? Overall, and this is kind of the main. This is what I drew from the article, right? The UAE is doing well.
Yes.
It's experiencing strong economic growth. The real estate sector is booming. It's sunny. There's no shortage of skilled people.
Yes.
All of those things are true. But it's a far bigger pool to choose from than it used to be. So again, I'm going back to this competitive nature. So how do you stand out when there are people coming from all over who may speak 5 languages, who have that advantage? Lots and lots of different things that you need to consider now when you apply for a new role.
But I think this starts. Never look for a job when you need to.
Okay.
You need to. It's a bit like training for a marathon. You don't just turn up on the day and run a marathon, do you? But a lot of people just go, right, I want to find a new job, and they start looking immediately. So what you should do when you're looking for a job is plan your career like your job. So start identifying the companies you want to work for, connect up with the people on LinkedIn, start having conversation years before you want to move. Because ultimately, if you talk to anybody that's successful, they've always been approached for a job.
I would love to say that's true with me, but it just isn't, unfortunately. But okay, so you're really suggesting that's kind of advanced networking.
The problem with people with their job search, I've had a bad day at work, I'm going to look for a new job. And and they go, I'm going to send my CV out to loads of places. They don't think about the process. They haven't built a network. They don't know what companies they want to work for. They don't know where their skill set lies. You need to develop yourself so you are the best version of yourself. So you need to make sure that if you're a HSE, health and safety person, you need to do all your qualifications, make sure you're up to date, connecting with your group or whatever they have as a mandatory body. Start networking in that group. And eventually what will happen is when you start looking for a job and you contact all those people, they go, you're brilliant, we'd like to have you. I think if I look at, I've got a couple of friends that have never actually looked for a job. They've always been approached because they're super active on LinkedIn. Okay. They like articles, they post articles, they talk about their industry a lot, they talk about what they're interested in, they give views and opinions, and they go on people's radars.
How important is it to be active on, a platform like LinkedIn? I mean, LinkedIn really is the only one.
It is,
I guess, isn't it?
Let me give you a slightly glib analogy here. If you're dating, right? I'm assuming you go on one of these sites. You're going to tell me not to do this now, aren't you?
No, I'm
Tinder,
interested.
Tinder, and what's the other one called? Bumble.
Okay.
But what people do is they just go onto those. I've got a mate who's doing this at the moment. Go onto it, meet a few people, and then they come off it.
Right.
And so then they have to keep doing that all the time. It's like an instant gratification. So with LinkedIn, you can't just go on and be really active for a month and then disappear because you'll fall off people's radar. Okay. People will stop seeing you in their feeds. It's a bit like Instagram.
Sure.
So you've got to be relevant all the time. So if you're looking for a job and you want to start your job search in the next sort of 12 months, start posting articles, start linking with the relevant people in your industry, start going to conferences, meeting people, sharing connections. It's a lot of work. And you should look at your job search as a job. Because that's really important.
I remember you saying that a few years ago, and that really struck me at the time. That essentially you got to put the work in to get the work.
But unfortunately, we're in the Instagram generation where everyone thinks they can go get a job tomorrow. And your point being, the market has got too many people in. There are too few jobs. So how do you stand out? You stand out because you built a long-term sort of career path on LinkedIn where people know what you do. You're identified as a top voice in your industry. You're seen as an advocate for marketing or whatever it is. So when employers are looking for those people, they'll go onto LinkedIn, you will come up.
Okay. It's difficult for some people, though, isn't it? Because there's the feeling, particularly amongst, I guess, older generation, that, I don't want to be seen that way. I don't want to come across in that way.
I agree. And actually, that's a genuine issue. But I think you've got to use all your experience and your knowledge to figure out a way of how do you navigate this job market and become relevant again. Because you're right. I look at people and they go, well, I'm 50, I'm too old. This is the one market where 50 isn't too old. I think if you're in Europe, you're in a really bad situation. If I went back to UK now, I am technically unemployable. Well, arguably, I'm unemployable here, but
you said it, not me. But that's an interesting point, though. So I guess to a certain extent, experience is respected.
Yes,
maybe a little bit more. Here. You've said that before.
The Arab culture is one of respect. They respect their elders, and that's permeated into the workplace where you will find that people respect tenure, they respect wisdom, and they respect that you've got some good experience. Now, it does tip over when it goes to you become too old.
Sure.
And I don't know actually what that is anymore at the moment, by the way.
Well, that's an interesting question.
But we, as a recruitment company, and this is where people get what we do, we are paid by our client to find an A match. If you're a 63-year-old, really experienced person, my client probably won't pay me to find you. They want me to find a 45-year-old.
Okay.
What we are very good at is advising those 63-year-olds to how they navigate around that and target employers directly. I've hired a guy in my business who's 64. He's really good. Mark, I've just outed him as being 64.
Yeah, you have. Mark's thinking I put 58 on the CV, but
I think you put 52 if I'm honest with you.
Look, loads of questions coming in actually, David, for you. So let's run through. Let's start with this one. Okay, I've been at my company for 5 years, and no new hires are making more than me. Interesting. How do I address this pay gap without sounding too confrontational?
No, I think it's a really good point. So you're right. Don't go up to your boss and go, I want more money because Bob and Ethel and Farhad are getting more than me. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, Ethel always does, Will.
That's such an old name, isn't it?
That
Ethel?
is, yeah. I was amazed you went for that.
They called my dog Ethel one day. So the way to do it is go, right, what do you do as a job? How are you measured in your job?
Okay.
So if you're measured in terms of sales or that's a fairly easy thing. If I do this much, please can you give me an increase?
Okay.
So what I say to people is, go to your manager and say, look, I'm really committed to this company. I've been here 5 years. I love working here. I like working with you. I want a pay increase. What do I need to do to prove to you I'm worth that pay increase?
Okay.
Set me targets or KPIs to do that, and let's agree them. And if I hit those, I get a pay rise. If I don't get the pay rise.
Okay, so quantify it.
Absolutely. It's got to be quantifiable, because I had one person a few years ago came into my office and said, I've been here a year. And I went, great. Can I get a pay rise? I said, you've missed all your targets for a year. And they went, yeah, but I've been here a year. I said, let me reflect on this. The conversation should probably be, why am I keeping you?
Ooh.
And she went, oh. I said, so as an employer, you've cost me X amount, but you've made X minus so-and-so. So why are you still here?
And what was the answer?
She said, oh, I don't know what to say. I said, maybe go away and think about the pay review and ask why I should keep you and what you're going to do to change the way you're working.
Okay.
By the way, she's still with me.
Right, and things have turned around.
Absolute star.
Really?
One of my best people. Because you know what? She's a smart girl. Very smart. And I think we were a much bigger business in those days, and I think she got lost a bit in the whole status thing.
Yeah.
And then when I said that, she realized, actually, I'm employing her because she's good at what she does, not because she's been here a year.
I mean, the thing is, it's your company, but I'm listening to that thinking, oh, that's brutal, that's tough, but it's the truth.
But the thing is, the problem with our generation of employees now is that there's an entitlement issue, and there is across the whole industry, about people think, I've been here so amount of time, I want this, or they come in and go, I want to work shorter hours. Why?
Yeah, okay.
Tell me why. What are you going to do? And this will go on to our Azure Man question in a minute. Sharjah announced there's going to be a 4-day week. Why? Because they want to encourage mothers and people to spend more time with their kids. Great.
Mm.
A manufacturing business works on a 5 or 6 day week. What are they going to do now? They're going to have to double their workforce or add their workforce because they have got less people.
Mm. Mm.
So when people talk about, I want flexible time and I want more money, why? Tell me why, and give me a reason why. So I have a lady in my business called Elena. She's been with me 6 years. She's got 3 kids. She had her last kid with us last year. Fantastic. Really nice little boy. I had to physically turn her computer off during her maternity leave because she wanted to work. Literally, she's a machine. I love her to bits. She's a lovely person. She's a mum. She's got the great... But she said to me, what do I need to do to get promoted? And I said, nothing. You're going to be promoted because you do all of these things. There's a real trend in this marketplace. What can I do to get the most out of a company without working hard? When did it become trendy to not work hard?
Well, I was going to say to you,
I'm ranting a bit here because I feel a rant coming out.
No, it's fine. You let the rant out. Let this be your forum to help you feel better today. But it is interesting because I mean, we all hear those stories of people that really don't work as hard as they should, and they work fewer hours, and they seem to get on for some reason. It's unfair and it's wrong, and I don't know where that kind of thinking comes from. If you were to go in, if I was to come to you as an employee of yours and say, look, David, I for the next month, I really need to work some flexi time because I've got X going on. I don't know, my wife's going through a thing, whatever it is. But I was to justify it to you, then I think that's perfectly reasonable.
Absolutely.
Because it goes back to that, quantify what you're asking for, whether you deserve a rise or flexi time or whatever it is. But just thinking that, time served means you deserve more is kind of an odd way of thinking.
No, I think it's
kind of self-gratification thing.
I think a lot of people of a certain age profile, their belief is just rocking up being in your company is is a benefit. They think, I'm working here, you're paying me, so you owe me.
Yeah,
My
okay.
philosophy is slightly different. The company is there to employ you. I'm employed by Mackenzie Jones. If I don't work hard, I don't justify my salary. That's how I look at it. I've never considered Mackenzie Jones to be my company. My name's on the door, but I'm an employee of that company. If I cease to be of relevance or cease to bring in revenue, I shouldn't be there.
True, and that it would be nice to think that is a standard employee mentality. It's not. But I mean, for you, I guess we have to consider the fact that ultimately the buck stops with you. So your attitude is always going to be a little bit different, because if you don't make this work, people don't get paid, and that rests on your shoulders. Even though I know you feel as though you're an employee and you're in it together with all your employees, but you have to have that in the back of your mind. Sure,
I do, but I look at over half of my people feel the same way.
Okay,
and I really.
You've infected them with your
thing. I've got good people who've been there a long time, and what I like about the people I've got in my business at the moment, they all feel ownership of Mackenzie Jones. There's a real sense of pride in working for them,
right?
And I really like that. And I heard one of the young grads the other day talking about it, and I happened to walk into the coffee room, and they're saying, "Yeah, I've done this and I've done that, and I'm really proud because the client's really pleased with me." And I thought, that's really good. It's pride in your job, and I think.
Did he know you were there behind him?
I reckon so.
Right. Okay,
no, I don't. No, I don't. I came in on the call. But my point being is that I've not always had my own business. I've only had my own business for 25 years. I worked for Michael Page and Monster. I was with Monster for 7 years,
right?
And I worked the same. I had the same ethics then, because people say, "How have you been so successful?" Not because I'm bright. I'm actively not. I work really hard. And I apply myself constantly to be better every day. And I drive myself to do that. My partner, Jazz, who runs our RPA, he's exactly the same mentality. And Mark's the same, and Haf's the same. And they're all the same, but they don't own the company. They still have that same driver. So I have hopefully infected them with pride.
Well, it sounds that way. It's
interesting talking to them. They might have a completely different view.
Yeah, well, Jazz is coming in next week. But there you are. Just been confirmed. Look, more questions. Let's get to some of these. My job. This is kind of. I'm guessing this is a similar answer to the first question, because it's very similar. Job responsibilities have gradually increased over the last year, but my title and pay haven't changed. So I have two questions to ask you. How do I officially ask for a promotion to match the work I'm already doing? And how important is title? I wonder about that.
I don't think titles are important, but that's my perspective.
Right.
I think some people, it's a big driver for them. It's a respect and a pride thing. Certainly within the Arab culture, it very much is. Okay. So you have to understand that. So again, very similar thing. Go to your boss, set objectives, set KPIs, set deliverables, and if you hit them, you will get a pay rise. If you don't, you don't get it. But don't go back if you have missed them and go, "Oh, I didn't have enough time," or "I didn't." You set those. You've got to hit them.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, well, you signed the contract, so live by
it.
If a job is posting explicit asks for salary history, am I required to provide it? This is one of those. And if so, how do I answer strategically to maximise my future earning potential?
That's a really good question. It's one we face constantly. Our contract with the client means we divulge salaries. We have an ethical policy of openness with our clients and with our candidates, by the way.
Right.
But I do understand here, because there's a situation where your job and the salary that goes to that job should be fixed. So if you apply to that job and you're 10 grand below, you should get the 10 grand increase. But it doesn't work like that, does it?
No, essentially.
So I think what you've got to do is be very honest with people and say, am I the right person for the job? It's easier if you're using a recruiter, because our job is to negotiate in your behalf, by the way.
Yeah.
And we do get very good pay increases. But I think you have to be honest with them and say, I'm on X amount now, but this is the reason why I'm expecting X plus 2 or 3 or 4. Right. But be realistic. People aren't getting 20% pay increases these days.
Okay. There's a follow-up question, I think, here. Let me just find it. Loads of questions coming. This is about the title. For context, I am the assistant manager. The manager resigned, but I was not promoted, but I'm doing the job.
Why weren't they promoted? My first question to my boss would be, Ethel's left.
She was so good as well.
She was
Ethel.
amazing.
Oh.
Ethel's left. Why have I not got her job? And the manager, if they're honest, will go, well, you're not capable of it yet. Okay, great. What do I need to do to get that job?
Okay.
Give me some goals. Give me a time scale. And if I hit those, by human nature, you have to give people targets and goals, because then they can either achieve it or not. You can't just say, oh yeah, work a bit harder and I'll give it to you. Well, what does that mean?
Yeah, absolutely. No, you need to set you need to set boundaries, don't you? We all need to set boundaries. But it sounds as though this position, this person has been kind of sidelined but expected to do it anyway. So that's fairly toxic.
But then look at that as though you're not right for that role and you need to be looking for a new job.
Right.
But you've got to talk to your boss first, because people leave jobs without communicating properly, because people are very worried about confrontation generally. So if you were my boss and the manager left and I was doing the job of the manager, but I was still assistant manager, I'd go, look, I'm really keen to do this job. What do I need to do for you to promote me? And if he goes, I don't think you're right for the role, no problem at all. So you don't think I can do that? No. Then you've got to leave.
Okay. Pretty clear. Question from, this is Melody. You should have gone with Melody, not Ethel.
I know a Melody. If there's the same one, she's lovely. She's an HR director for a very big firm here.
Well, it could be that same person. Who knows? See if you can get it from the way she's written the text. Hi, David. I watched your previous episode on the show about the best way to land in the UAE is through networking. I'm new to Dubai. This is not your Melody.
No, not my Mel.
But I've worked in several countries. My credentials are good enough, I believe, but no luck getting interviews. Is it because I don't have a professional network here? And I suppose by extension, how do you, if you're new to Dubai, creating a professional network?
Well, Melody, it's two things. One is you have no experience here, and at the moment there's a preference for people who've got experience. There's also a preference for Arabic at the moment, a big preference.
Okay. I don't know where Melody's from, but I'm
judging by her name, probably not Arabic. But,
probably not.
But to give her an answer, the best way of getting into a company is network. Build your LinkedIn profile. If you're a marketing person or an HR person, start working with networks, talking to recruiters, those sorts of things. You really have to work very hard to build your network here. The good thing, people are very open to chatting here. In the UK and Europe, it's very difficult getting into those networks. Here, it's super simple.
Do you know what? That's very true. It's kind of very forgiving here.
Well, it's an expat country, isn't it? 80% of our population, probably about 95 now, actually, 80% of our population are expats. And so the very nature of people are open to communication and open to connecting up as well.
Okay. What else have we got here? 3 or 4 more questions, actually. If the job posting... No, I've asked you that one. When I encounter a strange non-job related question in an interview, like... This would drive me nuts. Where are you originally from? There's a subtext to that, I guess. How should I respond to politely pivot back to my qualifications without causing offence?
Do you know Now, people ask me all the time, where are you from? Because I sometimes look slightly Arabic. And
okay.
So I always go, I'm from the UK. I'm actually from Scotland, as you can tell from my English accent.
Yes, I know, I've noticed.
So there's immediately a problem, isn't there? So now I do know that with some Asian countries, people go, well, if you're a British, like Jazz, my partner, he's British, but he's originally Indian background, and he's very open. People go, where are you from originally? From India, but I haven't. I'm third generation. You should always be proud of where you're from. Always. I'm very proud of being Scottish, even though I sound very English, and my Scottish family hate that part. So you've got to lean into this, because they're either asking to catch you out, but they're going to catch you out with something anyway. They're probably interested to just get a connection with you, have a chat with you. What happened? My parents came here from Scotland 20 years ago, etc., etc. It's like you get people who've got English mother and Emirati father, and they've got a family book or haven't. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
I think the social part of that, if they're going to catch you out, honestly, Tim, they're going to catch you out with something else. So I wouldn't worry about that
Well,
too
the
much.
other side to this is as well, isn't it? It's not necessarily the case that an insensitive question comes from an insensitive place. I mean,
True.
It really depends, I suppose. But it's interesting. So, maybe
You're not going to get away with
depending on
it.
the person.
You got to say, I'm from India originally, or I'm from Scotland, or I'm from.
My family from X, but and then I guess the conversation ensues from there, and then
I always say when people are, I say, where are you from originally? What's your heritage?
Well, I always think
it's a conversation.
Where are we all from originally? But that becomes a philosophical question.
Oh my
goodness. So we're not going there at the moment. We haven't got through any of the topics today that I wanted to ask. We got through half of one of the articles. But the questions I think are more important.
Okay.
You answered this last week, but I'll ask you again because somebody's texted in. How important is a cover letter in 2025? I can see your face, so I'm not going to look at you. Are hiring managers actually reading them?
No.
Okay.
No. Just brevity. Let me explain what brevity means. Make it short. Make it short, concise, and to the point. The biggest problem we have now is if you're answering an advert on LinkedIn, make sure you're suitable. If it says HR, 10 years experience, and you're a salesperson with 4 years experience, please don't answer the advert. You're stopping the people with 10 years experience being able to access that advert.
And so spend the time optimizing your CV or resume, if you want to call it a resume.
Yeah.
What's the right terminology, by the way? Is it resume or CV, or is it a mix of both?
CV. I don't
CV?
mind. They all mean the same thing to me. I mean, make sure your LinkedIn looks like your CV. And your CV looks like your LinkedIn.
Okay, so be consistent.
Absolutely.
And be thorough.
Get your dates right.
All right, then. We'll maybe hold over some of these topics, or maybe we'll find new ones for next week. I just don't know. But always a pleasure. David McKenzie is Group Manager Director of Mackenzie Jones Middle East. And thank you again.
A pleasure.
Great to see you. This is Mira Business FM.
Mira Business FM.